Hey, Austin.
Hey, Trey.
Hey, guess what?
What?
We're going to do a SeatGeek ad.
Oh, yeah? You didn't like the last one we just tried to do?
No, I didn't.
Well, my name is Joe Q StubHub, and maybe you could convince me.
Look, Joe Q StubHub, buying tickets has been a confusing process for a long time.
That's what we do over at StubHub.
You make it tough for the people, but SeatGeek, they're different, Mr. StubHub man. Okay,
well, that's why they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they've come along and made a great app. SeatGeek is always the first place I look for tickets. Okay, not one of you who are trying to shamboozle and wabizzle people.
Look, we offer a confusing and expensive experience.
Right, which isn't what people want, man. I got the SeatGeek app on my phone, and I used it the other day to buy tickets for said insert concert game here, and everything about SeatGeek is designed to make life easier for sports and music fans.
Well, if you want convenience, then the times sure have changed. I don't know what people want anymore.
Well, look, okay, SeatGeek does all the price comparisons for you by searching multiple ticket sites and ensuring that you get the best possible deal for your dollar. SeatGeek does all the work. And you save time and money, Mr. StubHub.
All right, you've convinced me.
Good. Best of all, for listeners of Super GamesCast 64, they get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. Download SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab and hit a promo code and enter the promo code SUPER. And SeatGeek will send you a $20 rebate after you've made your first ticket purchase.
Pretty rad.
Download the SeatGeek today.
Yep.
And do it.
Yeah.
Just
Here's what I do.
Yeah.
I find tickets for under $20, and then I scam the hell out of them, and they got to send me money.
That's not what SeatGeek's about. SeatGeek's about helping.
SeatGeek will fill your pockets. That's their tagline.
Yeah. SeatGeek. Just do it.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, this is Nolan North, and I've already stopped listening to Super GameCast 64. You should, too.
Let's go.
Yo. Loot Crate, Halo Edition. Are you going to buy it? What do you think? Not interested.
I don't think I've ever had a Loot Crate before.
Have you seen the ads? They're like everywhere on Facebook and Instagram.
No, I guess I don't get those ads. I'm starting to get a lot of anime ads because I've been looking at Akira stuff recently. And so now my whole feed's just anime.
Trey, are you turning into one of those scene guys, man?
Scene weeaboos?
Yeah.
Eating ramen noodles every day?
It has to be like Pokemon-themed ramen noodles. You can't just get the normal stuff.
No, of course not.
It's got to be like themed characters, personality, everything.
Yeah, that's my whole life. That's all what I'm about. Is the weebies. No, I don't get the Loot Crate boxes. I don't know. I get a lot of Giant Bomb ads. Have you ever been to Giant Bomb?
No, what's that?
It's a website. It's a bunch of I'd even say it's even almost too long to even say they're ex-GameSpot because that was like a long time ago. But it's a website and they do a lot of they do podcasts and they also kind of do Let's Play stuff and they're like ex-journalists and now they kind of they're industry guys and if you want to listen to the podcast, it's really good.
Okay.
Beastcast. They have their LA and then New York, and the New York one is the newer studio, and they do the Beastcast, and that's on Friday mornings.
Who is it that does that show?
That's which one?
The Beastcast.
That is Vinny Caravella, Dan Reichert, Vinny. I said Vinny. Then it's Alex Navarro and Abby. Forgot her last name. And then another guy.
Because I heard an interview with one of them, and he was talking about how they created the website and how they shifted, and it's like you have to pay for the website, right?
There's a subscription service that you have to pay for. So there's extra. They do a whole bunch of content, and then the West Coast version is Jeff Gershman, Brad Shoemaker, and then another guy. And so there's a lot of content. The podcasts are free. A lot of the videos online are free. The reviews are free. There's a bunch of stuff that's free, but then they have special content like that's under a paywall. So like if you really want to buy it, you can. You don't have to though. Because I actually got it recently just so I could watch a few things.
Yeah.
But I've been totally fine not being a
not paying
subscriber.
for it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Seems like a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of content, so it's just, hey, if you really like their stuff, you can pay for some more of it. If you do enough of it and you have an abundance of it, I think that's an all right way to go, as long as you're not putting everything behind a paywall.
Kind of like a Patreon style.
Yeah, just
deal.
like a Patreon. It was before even Patreon even started.
It's genius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're kind of ahead of the curve, especially with sort of their content they do, because it's more let's play video kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, so let's get started. We'll keep that on there. We've been trying to kind of make it more natural as we start, these podcasts. So it's just a conversation, just your bros,
Just kind of chatting.
just chatting,
Just
man.
a bunch of saw dudes hanging out.
just saw dudes. All right, so what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Super GamesCast 64. This is the week of, what week is it?
Well, today's
August
the 23rd.
So it's the week of the 23rd. I'm going to try to change up the intro because I'm getting tired of saying this show's about video games because it's obviously about video games. So I'm going to stop saying that. Austin is still dead. R.I.P. No one cares. He's dead.
Oh, no.
He's dead to all of us, at least. He died. So he's not on the show this week. He might be back next week. Who knows?
Someone told me he died staring directly into the eclipse without protection. Is this right?
I think so. That's something he would do, is just stare into the eclipse.
Not a bad way to go, I guess.
No, I mean, you might get some superpowers doing it, or you might die. So it's
doing what you love.
50-50. Yeah, doing what you love. Just doing what you love. He's actually in Wyoming looking at the eclipse right now with his buddies, taking large amounts of peyote, going on vision quests. So this week we have two gentlemen here. One is a newcomer and one is been here before. We have Hunter Swensson. How are you doing, man?
What's up, Trey? It's good to see you again, man. How you been?
Yeah, I've been all right. Just doing these podcasts.
Good.
And otherwise, I'm in a cryogenically frozen chamber before they let me out and do another podcast.
Oh, I thought you were waiting for like a particular game that you were just going to sleep until it releases. What would?
Just the podcasts.
Oh, okay, wow.
Just the podcasts. I really don't play games.
Oh, that's right.
I just do podcasts.
You seem to know a lot for a guy who spends all his free time frozen.
Yeah, because they insert news into me. Like,
okay.
So they just kind of like play podcasts in my head of just other things, and so I know everything going on. I'm just unconscious when it goes into my mind. So,
What do you need consciousness for? I mean,
get home.
It's overrated.
I watch Ghost in the Shell. I know all about that extra weird stuff. I know all about that. I'm hip. I'm hip to it. Over here we have Kris Gross. How you doing, man?
What's up?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man, and I'm actually a fan of the podcast.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, we got our first fan, on the podcast. I just call him a fan. I don't really call him a friend. I kind of try to keep that distance.
Okay.
So
maybe we can work our way to being friends.
That'll take a while.
Maybe not.
No, I don't know.
Dreams crushed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, Kris, you work at ESPN right across from the Ticket Studios. So we all kind of say hi as we walk by, and we're told not to talk to each other, but we do.
And when we bump into each other at the Cumulus Cafe, we kind of use it as our excuse. Like, we don't have an option. We have to say something to each other.
Yeah, I mean, it would be weird if we didn't say anything, but we try to make sure the conversation only lasts like a minute.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who knows what might happen.
Hopefully, Kat's not listening and learns.
I hope so, too, because he tries to keep it segregated.
Yeah.
He says that you guys can't mix because that might just cause havoc around the whole station. We can't have that.
Well, we'll see what happens after this podcast. I guess, then.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make, Kris,
okay,
on this podcast. So, I was hanging with some friends one night.
Okay.
And it was after a Rangers game. And I guess one of my good friends, I'm not going to name his name, but he says that he likes to call ESPN on the post-game show and say stupid things and ask stupid questions. And so we thought it'd be funny to call in and do a barrage of stupid questions. And he says, I forgot what he asked, but he said something. His name was Drew.
Okay.
On the call. And he said, I forgot what he said, but then I called right after. I think he said that we need to get rid of some of the Hispanic players or something like that, or the Cuban players. And then I call in and I say, we need to get a good Christian. We need to get Josh Hamilton back because he's a good Christian man. And what's the guy's name? I'm sorry, I forgot. Mike
Peasley.
Mike Peasley can scold you afterwards, and I want to give you an apology.
Dude, okay.
That is my fault.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you,
Sure.
and this may be your friend.
Okay.
So I guess it was probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
And we had somebody call in, and we had the classic. He gave me a good point on the phone when I screened him.
Yeah.
And we put him on air, and he goes through about blah blah blah, and then he stops and he goes, Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket is the Bet Sports Station.
I hope
in
that
Dallas.
wasn't him, because that's not my bit.
Okay,
I hope that's not him.
I don't know, but
Okay.
ever since that point,
Did you get the chance to drop that, or
I did. I dropped
Okay.
it. I dumped the
Nice.
entire thing.
I'm sorry about that. I hope that wasn't
that's good
him.
word.
No, and it probably was just a fan,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
so, but ever since that point, I'm not kidding, about 90% of the time I pick up a phone, I think, is this a ticket? Is this a P1
Right.
calling to scam me?
Yeah.
And so I've got my walls up. So it didn't bother me because
Okay.
from that one time, I've built up my walls here. So
Okay.
if you guys had fun, I probably laughed at
No,
it.
and it was before like I met you, I think. Like I didn't know who you were, and I felt really bad, and so I made a note to kind of like get to know you. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like those movies where it's like the spy has to get to know the other, like the
Yeah.
enemy, and then they become friends. Sort of like that. I felt bad about it.
No,
because
that's-
I'm like, man, I know how that is because I've done post game shows, and
Yeah.
the guy has a great point on the phone, and then he just cusses, once he gets on air.
I'll tell you
so,
the flip side of that though is if you get no calls or they're boring,
yeah,
at least that was a little bit fun.
Sure.
So
sure.
I'm not going to blame you for
Okay.
that. We'll put that aside.
All right. I just wanted to get that out there. Just get a clean slate.
But now it is confirmed that we can't be friends.
No, it
so
is.
just like workers down the hall.
Sure.
That's about the extent of it that
Okay.
it can go.
I'm all right with that. I was hoping it would be more friendship, but maybe someday.
We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll work on it.
So, what have you guys been playing recently?
Well, for me, Destiny: The Trials of Osiris just wrapped up the weekend of, I want to say, August 11th. So it was the last chance you could ever take to make it to the lighthouse, right? And everyone
Yes.
knows it's a special place. Got to go 9-0 on the card. Flawless victory in order to get there. So I spent almost all of my time the past, I'd say, month just grinding out the Trials of Osiris one last
So this
time.
is Destiny 1, the last DLC for Destiny 1.
Yeah. So, well, they're not the last DLC, but it was the last weekend that the trial. So let me backtrack. The Trials of Osiris is a weekly competition, almost like a tournament.
It's a PvP mode.
Okay.
Where you play 3 versus 3. It's elimination based, and you go up against another team. And the goal is to go flawless, which is 9 wins without any losses. You can get certain boons and buffs to help you get there. You really have to go just 7-1, but 9-0 is the goal. It gets you flawless. You get to the lighthouse, which is this special social space that you can only get to if you go flawless. And then there you can unlock gear, weapons, rewards, cosmetics, all that stuff. And so the last weekend we did on stream, we did on Twitch, we did like a special Lighthouse Virgin only stream where the only people who could play and win raffles were people that had never been to the Lighthouse. And imagine, this game has been out for three years. And people had still never gone to the Lighthouse. It's not easy to do. So we spent all weekend just trying to help as many virgins as we could. We
Virgins or virgins?
We claimed 5 virginities that weekend.
Okay.
Lighthouse virgins.
Okay.
Maybe both, but for what I know, we got 5 Lighthouse virgins to the Lighthouse for the first time, and it was a really, really fun weekend. Peaked concurrent at like 50 views, which for a new streamer on Twitch,
So yeah,
not bad. So it was cool.
You are a streamer, so you do the Twitch, right? You're on Twitch, and the Twitch. How's that going? Like how, I guess you've been doing it for a while, but it seems that you've been more serious. Is that am I on track there?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, it's crazy because I think consistency plays a really big part in it, and Twitch is so community based. People want something to look forward to, and it doesn't even need to necessarily be that they're looking forward to you or whatever game you're playing or how good you are at said game. It's all about the community, and when you go live, people know that certain people are going to jump into chat, and it's just no different than when people hang out in real life, except it's just on Twitch in a online chat room, which sounds really creepy the way I just said it, but it's not, I promise.
So do you just mainly play Destiny right now? Is that kind of what you've been playing?
So I recently actually picked up PUBG. So I started playing on the PC for the first time. I've been a console pleb my whole life, and had watched enough Twitch streams with PUBG to why not take a chance? Why not learn how to play it?
We just had our PUBG podcast last week, and it's
Have you played?
Yeah, I played a few rounds, and it's the last round I played. I felt like okay, I'm kind of understanding. I've only played like 3 rounds, but that's a game. Once I'm kind of done with the stuff I need to get done, I know I'm gonna play a lot more of it because it's really fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I really dig it. I kind of dig the whole concept of it, and just sort of the freedom you have, and sort of how you can go things kind of stealthily and use a lot of tactics.
The pacifist win, never not shoot anybody and still win.
Yeah,
it's just imagine like for anyone who's never played, just imagine like the Hunger Games, but you are
or Battle Royale
right? It's glorified Battle Royale, but. What's really interesting is that there's not only is it the most viewed game on Twitch right now, go watch guys like Dr. Disrespect, Aru, Shroud. Some of these guys are incredibly fun to watch. But what's really interesting about PUBG right now is that there's this esports scene developing around it, which I'm kind of watching cautiously optimistic. And the reason that is because I think one of the things that makes PUBG so great is RNG, right? You don't know what you're going to get when you land. What kind of gear, level 3 backpack, helmet, AK, pistol, you don't know, which is great, and it's fun for casual gamers. The RNG is great, but for esports and competitive sake, that's so much chance to be throwing into the arena when you have guys competing for hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, this weekend in Germany, or this week I should say at Gamescom, there's a $350,000 PUBG tournament, and these guys are dealing with the same stuff we do online, where you drop at the school and you hope you don't just come up empty-handed. So I'm really curious to see how the esports scene develops around a game that, for what it's worth, isn't really very balanced, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, does everything need to be an esport? I'm fine with being competitive, but doesn't really everything need to have a esport under the title, and there has to be a league for every game? Because that just seems like a game that, you competitive, and maybe you make some money off it being competitive, but I don't know. Doesn't need to have title esport, and it's only successful if it's on ESPN one night. I mean,
the Ocho.
Do we need everything like that?
I agree. I think PUBG is probably one of the biggest stretches I've seen for an esports title.
It just
most of the time
it's
brand new.
Yeah, and it seems like the coolness of that game is the crazy stuff that happens.
Right. The RNG.
Yeah.
It's the electronic version of chance, right? You don't know what's going to happen when you land.
A little more strategy, but because it's not like totally like Far Cry where there's like tigers jumping at you, but it's still, a car could flip over
and it takes skill. It takes some of these guys have incredible shots and they're wicked good. I mean, a lot of the guys who are really good at PUBG are former CS:GO pro players. So it's not to say that there's not skill or there's not a skill gap involved. It's just there's so much chance in that game. I just don't see how you apply esports to it when, like I said, I don't want $1 million tournament that's decided on what gun you get when you drop at the school versus the other location, right? I like a little bit more balance and fairness when I'm watching PvP, or especially esports slanted PvP titles. So we'll see.
Yeah, talking to your esports question, that's a lot of the criticism that's come under some of the changes coming to Destiny 2, where they've made now every PvP mode is 4v4. And there's no changing. In Destiny 1, you could have different varying numbers of Guardians on your team. And so now they've cut it to 4v4, and really the only explanation anyone can come up with is they're trying to it's like Bungie's trying to foster an esport community behind the PvP.
That's probably exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
For me, I'm more of a PvE style player. I really only jump into PvP on, special weekends, whether it's Iron Banner in Destiny, or I'm playing with my brother. So I'm mostly a PvE guy, so it doesn't bother me that much. But, there are a lot of people who, whether you're, you've got 6 guys in your fire team or whatever, and you try to go to PvP in Destiny 2, and going 6-4, you just can't make it work that way. And so I'm with you on that, where it's weird. We don't have to make everything an esport. And if it turns out that way, great, but you don't need to change the way a game runs for everybody, just for that small bit of the community.
Sure.
A lot of people always ask, what's it take for something to become an esport? And a lot of people will tell you it's the developer making that conscious effort to make an esport title, but I disagree. I think it comes down to the community's acceptance of that game as an esport. Then, and only after then, is it up to the developers to nurture and harness the kind of lightning in a bottle opportunity you have to make something an esport, because it should be lightning in a bottle. It shouldn't be, as you mentioned, Trey, it shouldn't be every game.
Right.
Mario Kart's all of a sudden an esport.
Well, like Rocket League, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Right,
you know, and
right.
that was a game that was supposed to be fun, and now it's competitive. And yeah, that kind of was a natural kind of progression, whereas it does seem like everything's everything needs to be fostered to make this competitive. And it's sort of like motion controls last generation. Everyone was trying to put motion controls, and it's because of the success of the Wii, and then it ultimately it's going to be a bubble that pops.
Lawbreakers was just released on PlayStation and the PS4 last week. Is only $30 on this, and there's no physical discs of the game made because the developer Cliff Bleszinski, creator of Gears of War 1 and 2, wanted to specifically make it an esports title. So you can't look back and say, oh well, it's only happening in here or there. There's a trend going on right now in gaming where developers are specifically making these esports titles, and there's no telling to see how successful that's going to be, because like I said, I think it first comes down to whether or not the community supports it, and they're making it esports focused before they even know what the community's reaction is. So it's going to be really interesting to see how development changes here in the near future. If you see more of a PvP slant, like you mentioned, because PvE is going to, I think, suffer in Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that things are so much more slanted towards balance in PvP, I think PvE is going to suffer for that reason. So there's a really, really odd balance that developers are going to have to strike moving forward, and they're going to have to ask themselves, do we want to make this an esport title? Do we want to make this fair and balanced? Do we want to make this just chaotically fun, right? You have to really sit back and answer those questions in a different manner than I think you did even a year ago or two if you're developing games.
So what have you been playing, Chris?
Destiny, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. I'm also planning for my wedding.
Yeah, of course.
We're just under 2 months away, and so that's taking up a lot of time. And I'll be honest, so my video game, consciousness right now is mostly made up of Destiny. And then the Destiny 2 beta dropped. Oh, yeah. And that just killed most of my drive for Destiny 1, where you're waiting for Destiny 2 so bad. It's so hard to get back into the original game. But I wanted to put a little more time in. There's a couple weapons I still wanted to get before I devote all my time to Destiny 2. And so I said, I got to get back in for a little bit. So Destiny is what I'm playing right now. What about you, Trey? What are you playing?
Well, we'll get back to Destiny in a bit, because I want to talk to you guys more about Destiny, because this is definitely going to be the pre-Destiny release podcast. So, last thing I really played, and I want to kind of talk about some other games that are kind of out now that I'm kind of thinking about. I played Telltale Batman, The Enemy Within, it's called this season, and it's pretty good.
Is Batman on a year? Have they become like Call of Duty, where it's every year there's a new title? What?
No, this is Telltale. Okay. I mean, they did one last year, but I mean, Telltale does a whole bunch of different games with different franchises. Okay. A lot of them kind of take, like The Walking Dead. It's like a few years.
Oh yeah, that's
for
right.
Each one. Yeah. They had one for Borderlands, which is supposed to be really good, and and they have one for Game of Thrones, which isn't supposed to be great, but they do a whole bunch of franchises. But they released the first season of Batman last year, which was really good, and they just started the new season this year. And it's crazy how, because it's usually not, it came out the same time last year, and they're usually weird about when they're released, and it's kind of been consistent. Like, it's been a year, and now we got another Batman. So it's pretty interesting. It kind of takes it goes another direction with the Batman mythos. Certain plot elements you kind of expect from Batman change. Some of the characters change. Some of the motivations change. It's interesting. Matt Birmingham. I don't know if you know Matt Birmingham at all. He's a board op here at the station. I want to get him on at one point. But he's a Batman purist. Like, he is right now, he's running a script for a Batman TV show he wants to do one day. Like pages, and he's reading books. Like, he loves Batman. And he's a purist, and he likes the game, but he says he has issues because they're changing certain things. So, yeah, if you're like a hardcore Batman needs to be one way, you're probably not going to like it. But if you can kind of sustain, if you're fine with other changes and seeing other interpretations of Batman, then like he definitely had issues with the Dark Knight trilogy.
And let me ask you, in this new Batman, is he a little bit more of a superhero? Because I know that's always been his appeal, is that he's not much of a superhero. He's kind of just like a really normal, extraordinary dude. Do they make him a little bit more Superman-like in the video game?
Actually, it's the opposite, where it's kind of focused on Bruce Wayne just as much as it's focused on Batman. And you can make decisions. Do you want to go about this as Bruce Wayne, or do you want to go about this as Batman? You have like a situation. You have a situation. They did it last season. They did this season. Hey, you need to talk to this guy. Are you going to talk to him as Batman, or are you going to talk to him as Bruce Wayne? And that decision will alter your relationships with other characters. It'll alter sort of how the story goes. So, like, I went as Bruce Wayne, and that upset this one lady, but it got me more on, Commissioner Gordon's side.
Interesting.
And so there's different choices you can make, and then it also affects people, like physically affects. Like last season, Harvey Dent was supposed to be like your friend. Harvey Dent eventually turns into Two-Face, and there was like one decision you can make, and if you saved him, his face wouldn't be brutally scarred. And so my Harvey Dent did not look like Two-Face. So it was kind of interesting because he was going through a nervous breakdown, but he wasn't Two-Face. It was just Harvey Dent.
And that's what upset your friend, was that he wasn't Two-Face?
There are a few other things that didn't upset him, but he took umbrage to it more than I think I would.
A lot of times there's some creative variance from the mythos or the ethos of of who or what that character is.
Yeah. And like they introduced the Joker last season, or the guy who's supposed to be the Joker, and it's a whole different interpretation of the Joker as well. And then so it's interesting. I really enjoy it. I think it's a cool game. I feel like Telltale, or just like Batman. It definitely kind of turns it on its head in a way. Nothing. I mean, there are a few things that are pretty drastic changes, but it's still Bruce Wayne. He's still trying to do good for Gotham. He doesn't kill people. He has the same code. It's just certain characters and story beats are different.
Yeah, and I can get maybe from the sense of a Batman purist, but I was watching you stream it a couple weeks ago. And that was my first kind of dive into a Telltale game where you get to, and it's not just like, a good or a bad decision like you see in some games. It's like you get 4 different options or 3 different options of what you get to say in a certain situation. And so I kind of got that feeling that, I mean, it was cool. It seemed like an expanse on the Batman universe where you get to make the decisions, and it's not, okay, this is a Batman. This is Arkham City or whatever, where you're going through as Batman and you're beating people up, where you can take the side of Bruce Wayne. Yeah. And I originally wanted you to make the decision to piss off Alfred because he's not Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael, but you couldn't make that decision. But other than that, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool way to kind of look at, you're kind of writing your own Batman story.
And you could choose to be brutal. You could choose to be sympathetic. You can be vengeful. Like, it's all that. So you can be your own Batman, so to speak. Yeah, I didn't realize that was your first Telltale game you've seen.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, it's well done. I played a little bit of No Man's Sky again with the update. Because they updated it, actually. That was the big story, is they updated it. I didn't play that much of it just because I need to restart it. I got in, I'm like, okay, where am I, and how do I do everything? And I kind of forgot, there's all these new systems. I don't even know if it updated totally, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wait. So yeah, they updated it. There's like a whole new story mode. There is multiplayer now. You can actually see people. They did graphics updates, base building, there's fast travel now, so you can travel to any planet you want. They've actually really revamped the game, and it's sort of like, it seems like it's the game that they wanted to produce. So I want to go and play some more of it just to see how good it is now. I don't know how much I'm going to put into it just because I got too many other things to do, so I don't have that much time for it. But I definitely want to give it a chance just because I think they're doing right now by, they're not just putting it under the rug. They're actually working on it, and it seems like people are happy with the updates. So I don't know, did you guys get into No Man's Sky at all?
Is the update free?
It's a free update, yeah. Totally free. You just got to download it. It's like a patch.
I'm not into No Man's Sky, but I heard the update made the game so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good though.
I always wonder though if it's too little too late for these games with how the cycle, and there's new games coming out every month.
Sure.
Like by the time they fix the update, how much of the community was left? Do you still feel like there's that amount of support there was at the beginning, or
No, but I think they were doing it for the community that was sticking with them, and hopefully maybe some people
Fair
will
enough.
come back.
Fair
I think
enough.
that's what they're doing it for,
Fair
which
enough.
is commendable. For
and
all
who's the developer? Do you know? On
Hello
on-
Games.
Hello Games.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So they're learning.
yeah.
Because they're not a developer I'm too familiar with.
Mhm.
So, because they had, man, it seemed like they had something really special when No Man's Sky launched. It had a lot of hype, and it just kind of seemed to be like a false grenade. Never blew.
Well, I think Sony didn't do them any favors with the marketing because they were marketing it as this humongous thing that it wasn't, and
Right, like it was a AAA title, and it's not Hello
No.
Games. You need an Activision, a Bungie,
Yeah.
a Riot. Like,
And-
you can't market it as a AAA title if it doesn't have a AAA developer. It's not to say that Hello Games isn't there, but it's just
and the main guy, what's his name again? The main dude, he was in all the press conferences. Sean Murray. He, for what I take, is that Sean Murray. He's not this egomaniac guy who's gonna lie to you. He's kind of he was a guy that got way too over his head, and it's still his fault. I'm not putting any blame on him. He should have known what he was doing, but it seemed like he had an idea for the game, and they showed it way too early. And he's on Conan. He's on Stephen Colbert, and they're asking him questions, and he just starts saying yeah to everything. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course there's this and there's this, and eventually he just got way over his head, and then it just exploded in his face.
it's crazy because No Man's Sky, that's PvE, right? But I see the same kind of mistakes in PvP where developers will launch these marketing betas. And for what it's worth, the D2 beta was a marketing beta, right? We were actually playing a build that was a month old at the time.
Yeah.
So there's no significant feedback you can provide during the
Right.
beta if you're playing a build that's a month old. It's a marketing gimmick. On the other hand, to go back to Lawbreakers, Cliff did a proper beta there and provided, I think it was like a 3-week window to play the game, played the most recent build, took that community feedback, and from what I've seen on Twitch the past couple of days just by watching it, it's a better game because of that. So it's just going back to No Man's Sky and the marketing ploy, right? I mean, just let the game speak for itself. Get feedback from gamers. Gamers are willing to provide that information. Just keep it real and let people know, hey, this is alpha, this is beta,
Yeah.
this is a true beta, right?
But also though with No Man's Sky is that they were getting all this funding from Sony. It was an indie game that got pretty much published. I don't know about published, but it was led along by Sony.
So
they
is
kind
that
of-
like that's like the relationship that PUBG has with Microsoft now?
Yes.
Is that the
a
good way
little
to parallel?
bit. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I think so. I don't know for a fact,
Because
but
that's one of the reasons that, from what I've read, the developers of Bluehole and
Yeah.
PUBG, the reason they want to partner with Microsoft is they want those marketing dollars.
Yeah, I
It
think
sounds
that's what
like
it
Sony
is.
was putting in a No Man's.
yeah.
So,
But the difference is that PUBG has people like millions of people have been already playing it.
That's true.
And then No Man's Sky was this project that was kind of just no one knew what it was exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone knows what PUBG is.
Speaking of beta, PUBG's in beta right now.
Yeah,
A lot of
it's
people don't
still
realize
early
that when
access.
they watch or they play. It's still an early access game that I think still has another 2 months to launch. So
Yeah.
just going back to what good you can get out of a proper beta that actually looks for community feedback.
We can kind of go into, since you mentioned PUBG being a Microsoft exclusive now.
Yeah.
Gamescom's going on. I haven't seen too much news from Gamescom. I don't know if you guys have seen much, but I know that Scorpio was put on pre-order, right?
Yep.
Project Scorp. What do you?
I think we're missing the pre-order story, but we'll get to that later. But
Sure.
the Scorpio, I guess, is on pre-order now, and you can actually pre-order it. Is that amazing?
Yeah,
You guys
it's
believe that?
amazing.
Yeah. What a novel concept.
It's
I know.
on pre-order, and you can pre-order.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. Does Project Scorpion do anything for you guys, or not really?
It's Xbox One 1.5, but I'm going to buy it.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I haven't decided.
You got a wedding to
Yeah.
pay for, so
And so
Are you guys not listed at GameStop?
okay, we put a Switch. So we're registered at Target, and I figured okay,
the
so
Switch on
the
there.
fiance is not into Destiny at all.
sure.
It's more of a nuisance and it's annoying, especially since I put all my time in that,
Yeah.
and we've got the collectibles.
we gotta
and
get the
everything.
napkins fixed up.
Yeah.
What napkin ring should we get?
And I say, I don't care.
Yeah.
Gaul's here. I've got to fight, right? And so I've got to get through once I get through the first couple weeks of Destiny 2, then we've got the wedding.
Yeah.
And then I'll get onto that. But yeah, we put a Switch on because I figured that was something we could get the fiance into.
Yeah.
She likes the Mario Kart.
There we go.
And so if my next console will probably be the Switch.
Okay.
So, but I don't know about or Xbox One X or
Mhm.
Project Scorp or I don't know.
If I already have an Xbox and I'm looking at my next console, it's not going to be the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
I would go after a Switch
Oh,
or
yeah.
even a PlayStation before getting an Xbox One X. But if you have the consoles, or if you're looking to upgrade your Xbox, it's worth it. But it's at the bottom of the list of upgraded consoles you can get, because the PS4 Pro is arguably better than the Xbox One X. I'm a Microsoft fanboy saying that, and I would still go after the Switch before any of those two, because the Switch is an entirely new console with games that are Super Mario Odyssey is coming out. You've got The Legend of Zelda to play. It's the library is starting to build
And
up
these
with the
games
Switch. It's a
are-
good time to get the Switch.
They've been even ARMS sold like over 1 million copies. I mean,
amazing.
it's incredible. And I was listening to another podcast this week, and they're kind of talking about how Nintendo's almost throwing a wrench into Microsoft's whole thing, because if you're a normal player, if you're like playing video games, you have one console and maybe a second one, and it seems like to me, and I don't know, you're more of a Microsoft guy than I am. I've maybe touched my Xbox a handful of times since I've had it, and so it's like I don't feel too guilty because I didn't pay for it. When I got it like, I don't know why I always have to preface it by that. I just feel like weird saying that I bought a $400.
You justify it in your own mind.
Yeah, it's like I justify not playing it at all, but I didn't actually buy it. I want it. So,
Dude, let's be honest, Trey. Nathan Drake stole your heart, and you never looked back.
no, never look back. Never look back. That those broad shoulders of Nathan Drake,
And that chiseled jawline.
that chiseled jawline of the '90s haircut, just get me every time. Yeah, so I've always been a Nintendo kid, and so hell yeah, I'm gonna get the Switch, and then, okay, I'm gonna play all my other games on my first parties on PlayStation 4. Now I have a PC, so it's like, what? Maybe I should play my third parties on PC and Xbox. I got Xbox for its exclusives, but there are not a lot of exclusives coming to Xbox.
Well, and because I asked you about the console exclusives once.
Yeah.
And so, I'm in the same boat here as Hunter, where I'm a Microsoft guy, and it started with Halo, and I imagine that's where a lot of people started with going the Xbox route. And so, if I right now didn't have a console, Xbox would probably be third or fourth that I was going to get, just because let's keep it with Destiny.
Yeah.
There are exclusives. PS4 exclusives for Destiny 2.
Lots of them.
And
that is a huge divide in the community.
it is.
And I hate that.
And so that's kind of where me as an Xbox player, a lot of my console exclusives, it comes from. But if I was sitting here, the reason I got an Xbox, that's what my brother played. My brother got me into Destiny, and it was like, okay, I want to play with him. Got to get the Xbox One. But if I was just a fresh player, I wouldn't go to Xbox. I mean, and then the Switch is getting, I love Skyrim. Man, Breath of the Wild looks awesome. So that's where I would go too. With the way console exclusives work now, Xbox is just so behind on anything.
So behind, that's a perfect word to use, behind, because a great example of that is with Destiny 1, there was a couple exclusive weapons on the PlayStation. I think Jade Rabbit, the Scout Rifle, is one of them. Bungie Activision decides that they're going to release the PlayStation exclusive for the Xbox gamers on Destiny at the end of September, weeks after D2 is launched. What a slap in the face to say, oh, there's no disparity between Xbox and PlayStation exclusives. We love both console communities here. We're even giving the Xbox guys the PlayStation exclusive. After the game is dead, no one's going to go back into Destiny and play Destiny. I was like, you'd be better off for the optics alone, just to not even make that announcement that you're gonna. We're a fair. There's no such thing as exclusives. You guys are getting your Jade Rabbit. The game's over. It's dead. What do you like? This is what a reach.
Yeah. That's
that frustrates me. Like I said, there's a big divide amongst, and I hate
And now even
console
with,
wars, man. It's just all bullshit. Like, just play your game and enjoy it. Have fun with the community and the friends you play with. I hate.
And I'm with
I
you.
think
It's
the exclusives drive the console wars.
And
it's separation.
And it's a lot about where your friends are playing. Like recently, Austin Guttery, the main host of this podcast, he got Overwatch on Xbox, and so I'm like, okay, I want to play with you. So I got Overwatch on Xbox. Now we haven't played together yet, but that's another story.
Jeez.
And so yeah, you're right. I mean, and it's, I talked to you about, hey, where are you going to play Destiny? And you said Xbox, and it's like, well, I got a PC, so if I don't know if I'm going to play it, but if I do, should I get it there? And I'm usually on PS4, and I get the trophies there, but a lot of like the people here at the station play games on Xbox, so it's a big divide, definitely, like trying to figure out where to buy certain games. And I understand, like Halo, that game was I've always liked Halo, but I mean, that was never like my thing. But I have the Halo Master Chief Collection on Xbox. But yeah, like it is really all about kind of what exclusives you like. And I think you have Halo and Gears of War, but I think Microsoft's kind of stuck and sort of the 360 era still, where they're kind of focusing on these
ironically
kind of bro shooters and whatnot, and to sell their game. Maybe that's all right. There's definitely an audience for that, and I think you could also go back on PlayStation and look at their exclusives, and it's getting to a point where they're all kind of. Well, I love them, but like, man, they kind of look the same. They're these outdoor, beautiful vistas, beautiful scenery, and open world, and it's like. I saw a picture, and as much as I love, Sony games, it was like showing like all the Sony exclusives, and it's third person, outdoors, beautiful mountains. That's every single one of them. Yeah. So it's like, it's beautiful, but they're all kind of the same, Yeah.
And then you've got not only do you have exclusive titles, but you have exclusives within the titles themselves. So even if a game is on multiple consoles, there's going to be exclusives there. And
I don't like the whole DLC exclusive thing. I think that's pretty terrible.
No, yeah, giving it to someone
especially
2
with
days
a big
beforehand.
Game.
And because that's what they did with the beta. You got if you pre-ordered on PlayStation, you got the beta 2 days early. I believe it was, or a day early. Which all it is, it's the developers trying to incentivize more sales. Right. That's all it is. It's a marketing gimmick. Don't get had, guys.
Also, Microsoft has confirmed. Microsoft confirms it's talking to Sony about crossplay.
This will never ever happen until Microsoft catches up to Sony in terms of total addressable market, total number of gamers on the platform. It just doesn't make sense for PlayStation to do that. And because let's look at Destiny as an example. There's right now, if there's 1 million weekly players, 800,000 of those are on PlayStation, 200,000 on Xbox, and it's probably pretty close of a trend for extrapolate that to other games. So there's just simply more people on PlayStation. So there's more for Xbox to gain, which is why they're approaching PlayStation, than there is for PlayStation to gain by partnering up with Xbox.
Exactly. There's some games that I get why they don't do it, because Minecraft, I think the whole thing with Minecraft is that it's published by Microsoft. So when you put in Minecraft and, it's on if you're going to play with other Minecraft people, you might see the Microsoft logo. There's a whole bunch of different things with Minecraft, playing with other players from other consoles. But like Rocket League, like that's like a flip of the switch. I mean, that would be, why don't they? Yeah, you can play with people on PC.
Well,
so you can't play with, it's just kind of ridiculous.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that Microsoft is striking up these partnerships or this cross-platform play agreements with PC, which makes sense because they have the operating system, right? It makes sense, and even with the Switch, if possible.
You can.
You can
with Minecraft. You can play Switch, PC, everyone. Yeah.
Wow, that's unbelievable. My only thing is. And this has been part of the, speaking of more exclusives, wars, whatever it is, the console versus PC. There's always been this disregard for consoles because it requires aim assist, because it's just not as precise as a mouse and keyboard. So when you're talking about a game like Overwatch or like Destiny 2, I'm concerned if I'm on Xbox and I'm going up against someone on PC, because I think they have a distinct advantage. Uncapped frames per second, latency is much better. So there's a competitive advantage or disadvantage actually to be on Xbox playing with the PC on the PC crowd. So I'm actually kind of curious to see how they make that fair.
I think they'll keep that separate, because you were right. That's a big disadvantage. So they'll always keep
Rocket League, sure.
It's different because you need a controller for that.
But like Overwatch, which is minute twitch reflexes, like I said, it's distinct advantage on the PC, especially if you're going up against someone who's on a pad and controller.
You have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's overall, console exclusive within games. And, part of the reason I think we're a ways off from, cross platform gaming is because right now you do have those exclusives within a game that's on both platforms. So we'll use Destiny 2 for an example coming up. There are guns and armor, and most specifically a PvP map that you can only get on the PlayStation.
A map even.
Yeah, and so how is that going to work if you're, hey, I'm on PS4 and my buddies want to play on Xbox? Is my console just going to know, hey, we can't run through this PvP map? I mean, you've got to get through these certain exclusives before you can make that work. I would love to see it. I just think we're a ways off.
Yeah.
You need to have completely separate playlists, just like when someone has downloadable. If you've downloaded the DLC maps, but your friend hasn't, you go to the DLC playlist and have fun because you've downloaded the new maps, right? But everyone who hasn't has to play the other playlist.
And that's
Once
a very
these
interesting.
Exclusive just fragment the player base.
That's a very interesting thing I didn't even think about. Is the exclusives within the exclusives and trying to, it's a mess. It's a mess.
We heard you liked exclusives, so we put exclusives in your exclusives. That's what these
like
developers. That's what these boardroom meetings are. That was taken directly from the most recent conference call with Microsoft, right? That's the conversation they're having. It's just getting ridiculous.
Speaking of things getting ridiculous, did you guys get your SNES Classic yet?
No, I didn't get one.
So it was middle of the night.
1 a.m.
Central. I'm over there doing something in the studio.
Bastard, you got it.
I see a little thing from Wario64 that, the pre-orders are up on Best Buy. So I go up and get 2.
Oh, you got 2?
No.
I got one for Austin. I told Austin that we have a thing. Now, I don't know if he would ever get 2 for but no, actually, no, he has. He's told me before, so he would. So I got one for me and one for Austin.
I'm surprised they let you buy 2.
Because it's pickup, it was sort of like I had to do it twice.
Okay.
But I put it under
so you
2
went through
different
twice.
names. Yeah.
And then it was done. You tried 3 times or no?
I didn't try a third time. I didn't want to.
I thought an enterprising young man like yourself, you buy that and put it on eBay and make a couple.
Yeah, I don't want to be a jerk though.
I know.
And do that.
Scalpers are already marking up the freaking pre-orders 300%.
I know.
Okay, so from the stories I saw, there was no warning
None.
from Best Buy or Walmart or anybody. So how did you find out?
I'm just on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
Really. I'm luckily
I was awake and I missed, so I'm killing my it
It's-
hurts. I want to leave the room right
I
now.
should've-
Just listening to Trey talk about how he just got 2
I really should have
pre-orders.
told you guys. I'm
What?
sorry. I should have let
God.
everyone know. I didn't want to wake people up. That's the thing,
This is wake up worthy, Trey.
Yeah.
If there's anything,
Yeah,
this
this-
is one.
I feel like I've hurt both 2 friendships today. Telling you this, I'm sorry.
It's hard. Like I said, it's hard to. I gotta go.
I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, they had like a warning of saying that it's gonna happen this month, but they never said when it was gonna happen, what time. I think I don't know. I think they might have more pre-orders at some point because they've mentioned that there's gonna be. They said that they're gonna have more than they had for the NES Classic, but we'll see.
That's all lip service until they. Yeah. Until I get a pre-order.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's really bad business practices doing that. For
That's horrible.
Something they know is going to be so popular, and then they just do it in the middle of the night when no one is up, but overnight board ops. And it's pretty ridiculous.
There's no rhyme or reason to it.
No.
You know, like most of these guys, like I said just a couple minutes ago, all these decisions go back to incentivizing people to buy their products so they can make more revenue. And they're losing money because they're letting the scalpers mark up their products and sell it. It's almost like you're seeing like the Nikes that drop, the exclusive Nikes that get dropped. There's almost like this market being established around these Nintendo launches, almost like they would like the new Jordans. It's just it's weird.
They're acting like they did back in the 90s with the NES and the Super Nintendo and the N64, and that's been their business practice for 20 years. Is they produce false demand by making the supply so low. They purposely make the supply low to force some kind of artificial demand, and they're still doing that now with the
I don't
Switch.
think they need to anymore.
They don't.
Right? They don't need
they
to
really
do that.
Don't.
They're kicking ass.
They're a very old Japanese company, and Japanese companies have they are a conservative Japanese company to Japanese companies. Like they are
you're right.
very weird, and they've always been weird, and I think we've always given them a pass. Not like I'm saying not you guys individually or me individually, but I would say me individually, but I think people have given them a pass forever because they're Nintendo and they have a childhood bond to Nintendo. But people talk about EA and Ubisoft. It's like, man, Nintendo has some really bad business practices.
It's weird that they would keep it so minimal on the units that they're pushing out, because this is something I feel like even if you just double or triple, are they worried about like not selling out or having it kind of the market oversaturated? I don't get what the.
I think they like being the hot new toy. They like being.
But would it not be as hot? What I feel like if you quadrupled or multiplied it by whatever, I feel like it would still be just as hot.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Out.
And it's something that you could have at just Walmart. Just have a bunch of it like Walmart or a grocery store, and hey, it's little Johnny's birthday, and I used to play this as a kid, because these are for like your 30, 40-year-old dad who used to play video games, not anymore, but they remember, I used to play this, and maybe my son or my daughter would like this, and go get it, as a birthday present, or even, I would like to get it just to have a place where I could play a lot of these games. And
was the SNES, was this y'all's first console?
My NES was
Oh, wow.
My first,
Okay.
kind of.
See, SNES predated me a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And the way I'm putting this through is I'm putting it through my N64 goggles.
Okay.
Mhm.
So N64 was your first.
Yes. And so I get how you're feeling because
that was mine. Yeah, the SNES, that was my first. I still remember I was 5 years old. I still remember my mom walking up the steps. I can still see that with the SNES in hand.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
I would say NES was the first. My dad had an NES, and I was 2. And we played Super Mario Bros. 3. And I think I played Duck Hunt, and that was about the extent of it. Super Nintendo I never owned until like middle school when I bought one. But I remember going to a friend's house and playing it all the time. Do you remember Austin Hinder?
Yeah. Sounds familiar.
He had the Super Nintendo, and I used to go over and play it all the time. I used to play it at dentist's office. So I remember playing it. I never owned it. N64 was the first console I've ever owned.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. But yeah, like Super Nintendo, I still love those games on Super Nintendo. Like I'll still go back and play them.
And what the SNES is releasing the unreleased Star Fox 2.
Yeah.
I would freaking love to play that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be incredible.
Well, you can go over to my house and play it now.
True. I guess you could just play, or an emulator, right?
Yeah, or
and that's
an emulator.
the problem. Once again, going back to bad business practice, is that I think the emulators are the rise of the machines, the rise of the emulators is nigh upon us.
Well,
because Nintendo can't meet the demand for their products.
They're giving them a bat. They've always been like, oh, why do you use an emulator? Well, this is why, because you don't produce enough.
Starting to get a lot more justified.
Yes, exactly.
I think Nintendo only it's the appeal, the allure. It's like sexy to be this. In demand, like you mentioned earlier with Nintendo's kind of thought process. But I only see them being able to do this a couple more times before people, get fed up.
Oh,
and I think, and then it truly affects their business at that point.
And what's interesting is that they keep going on doing more. It's going to be because when we did Blow the Cartridge, we had Craig Skismus on from Game Attack, and he mentioned when the N64 came around, it's a multiplayer console. Like they had, Zelda and Mario, but for the most part, you remember playing with friends.
Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And so how are they going to do that? How with a retro console? Are they going to sell 4 controllers? Because those are big controllers. And they're, how are they gonna make this online? What are they gonna do to kind of make this a multiplayer console if they do an N64 one?
God, that'd be incredible.
I wonder what they're going to do with this one, because I don't know about you. Did you have an N64?
I did.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I was Nintendo.
I was going to say
it was Nintendo all the way up until the GameCube and Xbox came out, and I went Xbox because of the PvP Xbox Live element. So I was Nintendo all the way up until the GameCube, which I did not get.
So that's how I started. I had an N64, have a GameCube. We still have our N64. And
I think a lot of
we
people
have a lot of the games, whether it's Smash Brother or me and my brother loved GoldenEye. And so I wonder how they're going to go about this, because if they do this with the N64 Classic or whatever, we're obviously going to try to hop on it. But if they do some kind of shady, some crap behind the scenes, we can always go, I wanted it, but if I really wanted to play Smash Brothers, I've got the N64 at home. So I wonder if we're getting to the point where they're kind of putting out the classic console of something that people already have. I wonder if that's going to affect anything.
I agree with you, because I remember being at UNT and the Fiji house, and it was. I remember just seeing tons of N64s. Everyone owned an N64. It's a little more rare with the Super Nintendo and the NES, but N64s are still around. You could still go buy one. I mean, used, but they seem to kind of still be in good condition. So yeah, you're right. And with the GameCube too, like people still have GameCube. I still have mine, and you could easily emulate that. Hell, you could play GameCube games on the Wii, which everybody has a Wii or have sold it, and you could buy it for $10 now probably. So yeah, you're right. Exactly. Is when they go higher, is the demand going to be any more? Because I think, yeah, it's going to be more, well, I can already play these games here, and I still have this console, and yeah, so you're right. Who knows like what they're going to do if that demand's even going to be there. Because also, as those Nintendo consoles, they always, the sales dropped each time, except for the Wii, which was an anomaly. That was like the highest selling one. But then it dropped again with the Wii U. So who knows? I would like to see I would honestly, kind of off topic a little bit, is I'd like to see some of the Wii U games or the Wii games ported without the motion control stuff, which would be tough because a lot of those games like Mario Odyssey are very integral with the motion controls. But I would like to
have to use motion controls to play the upcoming Mario Odyssey, you think?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say Mario. I meant to say Mario Galaxy.
Okay.
Super Mario Galaxy. You kind of have to use the motion controls for some of that, but I would like to see some of those games without the motion controls, because I think the problem with the Wii is that a lot of those games, they're not future-proofed, because that technology is going to, fail in like 30 years. Will you be able to play your Wii anymore? Who knows? So like a lot of those games aren't future-proofed with the Wiimote and stuff like that. So I think they need a way to make those games work when you can play them in 30 years. I think that's because that's been the big issue is with video games and restoration and with film, as they have big archives for film restoration, like keeping films alive. But with video games, there's like all this copyright for that, so you can't. It's illegal to do that. It's illegal.
It's always crazy to see how games stand up to the test of time. My buddy was over the other night, and he was like, let's play something where we can just, like, the two of us, we can just co-op and we just shoot a bunch of shit together. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really know what to do, and I was looking at new titles, and then Call of Duty Black Ops.
You just had some black tar
from
heroin.
2010.
Yeah.
And Jesus. And we went back.
We just do this.
This is a great alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And we just went back and played Nazi Zombies for like 3 hours, and we were playing a game from 2010. 2010 is not that long ago.
No.
But it is, and then it was just, it's amazing to see how far a game can come in a matter of years, because like I said, 7 years, not really that far back. 2010, I can't even believe that 7 years ago, as is, but that game still played great. It was still fun, still felt as good as it did when I played it in 2010, and I think, like you're alluding to, Trey, it'd be nice if more games kind of strive to have that sense of timelessness where you could enjoy it 10, 20, 30 years later.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. I think that's all for. Well, there's some more news stories. I don't know. EA says that there's no more Mass Effect. There's not going to be any more. Did you play Mass Effect Andromeda? Have you guys played Mass Effect at all? All right. So the whole Mass Effect Andromeda thing, the animation was bad. The people, it was not well
received.
I watched the
videos.
A lot of people were upset.
A lot of people were upset, and they said that there's not going to be any more DLC. Not any DLC, single player DLC for Mass Effect Andromeda. EA boss says Mass Effect Andromeda got too much criticism. Franchise could return though.
Whoa! They just pulled the plug.
Yeah.
Trey, do you remember the last time we were? I think one of the last times I was on the show, the Switch had just came out.
Yeah.
And that girl walked into GameStop, and there was 14 Switch available. She walked in and is 14th in line, and then this other dude walks in 15th, gets told he can't get a Switch because he's one behind, and then the girl in front of him goes, "Oh no, I'm just here for Mass Effect."
There you go.
So I just think back to that moment where oh God, I wish I would have bought the Switch for her, because she made the wrong call. I mean,
and I feel bad because I think they've gotten a lot of criticism where people don't and I can't say I understand 100% how like the development of video games, and people like to say lazy developers. Well, there's also timing and budget, and you got EA breathing down your back, and then it has to do with your quarterlies and when you need to put things out, and so there's a whole lot of things to that, which it's unfortunate that it happened to Mass Effect, which is like a beloved franchise. But
yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think this was one that they've really talked about, kind of the behind the scenes, and this was one where they kind of had to scrap everything.
Yeah,
pretty close to one of their benchmarks that they had to fit, right?
I believe so.
And so I get it. It makes sense, but that's then when you release it and you go, okay, man, we really effed up. We got to fix something, whether it's free DLC or something.
Patch.
So look, I get it. When you've got a company, like you said, when you've got EA breathing down your back, you can't just say, hey, we're not ready.
Right.
We don't have the game ready. But you can't just go, look, we gave you something, and that's it.
And I think a lot of those guys are now on Anthem, which is BioWare's next game. So
yeah,
that looked impressive.
Probably shifting the resources over to Anthem.
Yeah.
Anthem is supposed to be like a mix between Destiny and what's the Tom Clancy game? The Division.
The Division.
So that looks pretty cool. I think it's still a year out, I think, but
it's a while out.
Yeah, it's
it
a
looked
ways away.
Because I remember hearing about people talk about like this next console generation and what are they going to do like going forward, even into the next one. And it's not necessarily better graphics. It's more taking these humongous open worlds and putting in the same graphics as you would in like a Naughty Dog game into, you know, like a Skyrim or a Fallout. And so you get these humongous worlds that look beautiful. And so like that kind of looked like that's kind of what it was this massive world that looked beautiful and expansive, and you could kind of roam around in it. So it looked impressive, like seeing that trailer, I thought.
Yeah, it looked cool.
Before we get into Destiny talk, we'll just spend the rest of the time talking about Destiny. So there's a little funny story, and this is not a political podcast at all, but I thought this was funny. So House Republicans attempt a Zelda reference, fuck it up. So House Republicans put out a thing today on tax reform, and for some unknown reason, they built the entire thing around a Zelda reference. This is from Kotaku, by the way. And I'm reading this from Kotaku, so if this is fake news, it's not my fault.
You think Donald Trump listens to this podcast?
He does.
Okay.
He does. He loves this
It's the most
podcast.
unbelievable
Okay.
podcast
Okay.
ever.
It's so good. Okay, you do the best podcast ever. Okay. So they put this thing out, and they recently took it down. But it says, The Legend of Zelda series is Nintendo's best-selling video game franchise, enjoyed by more than 2 generations of gamers. The action-adventure game was released in 1986, only 1 year after Nintendo's founding in 1985. And you know what else was released in 1986? Yeah, you do. The last major reform to the American tax code was signed into law in 1986. You know what the problem is with that statement?
Everything. Tying politics into our beloved video games.
Mainly, Nintendo was founded in 1889.
Oh, no.
So, hurts to miss that one.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Tries video game reference, does not know video games at all.
That seems like something you can Google
Yes.
in about 2 seconds.
It's like it's weird to say 1 year after Nintendo founding in 1985. It's a weird thing to even write. That's like you're just making that up.
This is when you get old people,
Yes,
who know nothing about video games.
Let's say, have you guys seen the GIF? How do you do, fellow kids? And the
Yeah.
guy's got
Yeah.
the hat on backwards, and he's got the skateboard
Buscemi,
lazily
yeah.
over his shoulder.
And you know what's funny about that picture
That is this.
you look again and he's holding 2 skateboards. I think that's the funniest thing about that picture is he has another skateboard in his hand. Yeah, that's great. So I thought that was funny, and just like. Then I don't think it's its best-selling franchise. I think that's Mario's its best-selling franchise.
That's what I was about to say. I was
Yeah.
thinking Mario is probably the best-selling.
Mhm.
Pokemon might even be ahead of that.
Yeah, might be.
Ahead of Zelda. It probably is. I mean, you've had more iterations of Pokemon than you have
Yeah,
Zelda.
and
So
I mean Mario.
just from that
Technically, you've
alone.
had a lot of iterations too, with just the carts and the parties. And
So
all
I
that.
would
yeah.
assume they worked on that for more than like 2 minutes, and we've talked about it for
Jeez.
2 minutes, and we've already found like 3 or 4 errors.
Yeah.
Too many holes.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to look at the date that Nintendo was founded in 1889, not 1985.
Were they
Insane.
making games in 1889?
They were making. It was Toy Company,
Mm.
and it was a toy company back then. Then they changed to video
So
games.
what they were probably referencing was the release of their first console, but
I mean, still, it said founded. They should have said into when they.
it doesn't even.
I don't
matter.
even think that's even.
You can't like. Gamers are not the audience to mess around with their lore.
I mean, I don't think
right?
they're
Like,
thinking when
you
they wrote
cannot
that.
fuck with that. So
Yeah.
it's just if you miss shit like that,
It's funny.
it's how do you do, fellow kids?
I mean,
how do you do?
it's like when Hillary Clinton said, "Pokemon, go to the polls."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Just old people doing
Exactly.
things, and they didn't go to the polls. I'm sorry.
But they
Anyway,
did- but they did play Pokemon Go.
they did do that and
That was
talked about
bad, man.
Harambe while the world burned.
Jeez.
So anyway, Destiny 2, yeah, it's a hot new game coming out this year. Talk about it.
Destiny 2 is interesting. A lot of people are the only complaints I've seen so far is that it's Destiny 1.5.
Which,
and
yeah, I mean,
it's
what
a
do they mean by
sequel.
that, I guess?
It's a
What do they
sequel.
mean by
It-
that?
It looks too much like Destiny. It plays too much like Destiny. Well, damn it, I love Destiny.
Yeah.
I want it to play like Destiny, right? And so I think that's completely think that's completely sidetracked. Destiny 2 excites me because it reminds me of when Halo transitioned to Halo 2, and they figured everything out that they've messed up in Halo and brought and fixed in Halo 2. And one of those for Destiny 2 is going to be the storyline, which was all sorts of cluttered and confusing in Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, you had what was called Grimoire, which contained the lore of Destiny. Well, it wasn't even in the freaking game.
You had to
you had to go on the internet, search for it, and then read off of cards what that meant to the Destiny universe. Fuck that. I want to see it I want to see it while I'm playing, and ideally I'd like to shoot it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that from that element, it seems like they're putting more emphasis on story in Destiny 2 with Gaul. You know, you got to start completely over at ground zero. He's completely taken our light, our weapons, our morale. So it's cool. It's going to be a good chance for everyone to take a fresh start. And for those who have never played Destiny, I think it's going to be great because you're starting over with the rest of us.
Yeah, I think what they've done, they found a really cool way of kind of resetting. Because the one thing I really liked about Destiny 1, and I've never gone so total nerd into a game that you can that I did with Destiny.
This one's this is rabbit hole inducing.
And so one thing they've done, they have taken almost, I would say 99% of any game mechanic and built it into story or the Destiny lore. So when you die, you have your ghost. It's a little robot that comes with you. It helps you with your light, and that's what brings you back to life. So there's a story reason for you dying and coming back to life.
You were chosen.
There's a story for almost everything that happens in the game. And so they found a really cool way of basically saying, we want to keep our core Destiny players, but we want to bring in new ones. And so basically what we're going to do, we're going to bring in a giant badass to Earth. He's going to destroy your weapons, and he's going to take your power. So that's their way of kind of wrapping everything up and saying, look, we know you killed gods in Destiny 1, and you may have new players that have never played before, but we're bringing you all in and putting you on the same level. The one thing I wanted to talk about what you said is, like I said, I went total nerd. And so there is this community of the Destiny lore out there on the internet. There's podcasts, there's YouTubers, and they talk about this stuff that's tucked away in these Grimoire cards. And the one thing I'm kind of nervous about Destiny 2, they're getting rid of the Grimoire cards. And they're putting it all in the story, which I like. Like you said, I want to be able to look at the story. I want to be able to look at the lore and be able to go into my pause menu and look at it if I want. The one thing I think we're going to miss out on is there are hundreds of these Grimoire cards from Destiny 1. And they tell a story that you can't put into a game. Like, they give you huge backstories on everything. And one of my favorites is a story about a guardian. When you're chosen by the traveler that comes and you're given the light, you become a guardian. And you're the kind of the superpowered people that the game is built around. And there's a guardian who succumbs to the darkness. And he becomes something he hates. He kills another guardian out in the wild, and that guardian's protege ends up taking up and killing him. And it's this incredible story that's built up only in these Grimoire cards.
I've played Destiny since day one. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And
so
I'm freaking out because that sounds so cool. And I didn't even know.
It
I
is.
had no idea.
And that's the thing I'm worried about, where there are these things, like I said, I bet 90% of the people who play Destiny don't even know about these stories that are hidden in these Grimoire cards. And so for me, as a total Destiny nerd, that's what I'm worried about. But as far as gameplay goes, I'm with you, man. I mean, if I wanted to play a different game, if I didn't want to play something like Destiny 1, I would find a different game.
Yeah.
I want Destiny 1.5 because I want new stuff, but I want my Destiny as well.
Yep.
And so 2 weeks away from today, I'm excited, man.
It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what else comes out in 2 weeks, right?
Knack 2.
Yeah, baby.
Knack 2, baby.
Yeah. That's going to be the game I'm going to play. I can't wait to play that. So, yeah, no, that's interesting. And it kind of made me think about The Witcher in a way, how The Witcher had a lot of these little stories. The best things were the stories and these side quests. And are they going to have kind of side quests to tell these stories, or is it going to be kind of just...
That's how they've attacked it now.
Yeah.
They've come up with a bunch of different... and I guess maybe news we got this week or within the last week, they said... Once you have to get through about 70 or 80% of the main campaign before you can go on these side quests. They have what are called lost sectors, which are you have to go out and you have to find. You'll see a something painted on a wall or a rock, and you know, okay, there's a lost sector here, and you kind of go down, you fight a boss, you get some loot. You've got lost sectors, you've got adventures, which are kind of all-encompassed little tiny stories, and they said through that and then, you know, scanning different objects is kind of how you get your lore. And they've said they've built everything into the game. They said that was one thing they really wanted to address. You had to basically go to Bungie's website to look at these Grimoire cards.
Yeah.
And that really took a lot of people out of it, where, look, I want to play, I want to shoot, I want a story, but I don't want to have to put my controller down.
It's fragmented.
And go
the whole experience.
Yeah, and so
together.
I'm interested to see how they're going to kind of combine everything, but they are going to use those adventures and scannables to kind of put the, I guess, your bigger backstory together.
Okay. Explain to me, I guess, the gameplay loop, because I've heard about raids. I'm not too familiar with Destiny, so I mean, what is, I guess, a normal playthrough on online? I guess what kind of modes do they have? What modes have changed? Explain all that to me.
Yeah,
I guess,
so you
for somebody
had,
who doesn't know too much.
Yeah, so you had 4 raids through the totality of Destiny 1 through their DLCs. And they kind of vary in length and difficulty. And Hunter, if I get something wrong, step in, because I came in at the beginning of year 3. So year 1 and 2, nothing for me. My brother brought me in, so I'm coming up on a year of my Destiny playing. Only got through a couple raids, but yeah, I mean, depending on the raid group you get with, how much you know about it, I mean, they could take you, upwards of 8, 9, 10 hours to get through.
Like sitting one sitting, or
yeah, so
okay.
you can checkpoint,
okay,
and you can come back, but beginning to end is hours, and so that's your raids. You have raids, you have what you would call what are strikes, which are basically a 20-30 minute mission where you can, you fly in, you go through, you kill bad guys, you kill a boss, and you're done. And so you've got your strikes, your raids, you've got your campaign missions, you got some PvP. You've got your Trials of Osiris, which was your thing you could do on the weekends. It was your competitive PvP style. I think that was it. That was your competitive. That was your modes in Destiny 1.
I guess, because I know the biggest complaint with Destiny, the first one, was that it seemed like the first couple of years it was kind of bare bones, and then they started adding more things. Are they gonna kind of have it packed in with content? Destiny 2, or is it going to be kind of bare bones? They're going to keep adding as it goes on, or is it kind of be everything? Well, I guess also, what else is new about Destiny 2?
So there's a couple things that are new about Destiny 2, and a lot of them have to do with, as we mentioned, the story and how they present it being a lot different. But when you look at just the gameplay elements, there's a couple things that make it a lot different. And so one of the first things is that with Destiny 1, you had what were called roles on weapons. So each weapon had its own attribute to it, and they're all unique. In Destiny 2, there are no more roles. And the reason that's, I guess, important or a lot different is it points to Bungie's focus on making this a more balanced esports-focused game. So with roles, you could have what's known as like a god roll, where every line on your 3 attributes was the best possible role you could have. Extended range, luck in the chamber, which gave you extra damage on certain shots. In Destiny 2, every gun is going to be the exact same, except for one mod that I guess you can make to the weapon. But for the most part, you're not going to have any more god rolls. You're not going to have any more unique rolls on weapons, which makes things a lot different. One of the other things that they're doing different is that... Go ahead.
So you can't modify weapons at all?
You can, but you can only choose one modification.
Okay.
So whereas in Destiny 1, the entirety of the weapon, let's say if there's 5 attributes to a weapon... all 5 would be completely different amongst players. In D2, only one of those 5 is going to be different, which is going to make the game a lot more balanced, which is going to make it more esports friendly. One of the other things that they're doing to balance out the game is they're eliminating the variances in beatdown lengths. And this was a big complaint when it came to the meta with Destiny, was that warlocks could beat down across this room. They'd beat down 8 to 10 feet. Hunters...
So like your melee attack.
Your melee, your melee attack. Warlocks could fly across the room with a falcon punch. Hunters, on the other hand, had two feet of melee range compared to the 10 that the warlock had. So there was a lot of disparity there, and they completely eliminated that. All melee ranges will be, I believe, 2.5 meters now. So everybody's got the same exact beatdown. And then the other big change that they're making is intellect, discipline, and strength, which are your cooldowns in Destiny. They determine how fast your grenade comes back, how fast your beatdown comes back, and how fast your superpower comes back. Those have all been balanced out and equaled as well. So in Destiny 1, one player might have intellect that recharges his super every 4 minutes. The other player might have an intellect that recharges his super every 6 minutes. That's going to be the exact same across the board now in Destiny 1, which once again makes it a little bit more balanced and esport focused. So I think the changes they're making are really interesting, and I think they're doing the best they can to keep it still feeling like Destiny and still having the making PvE unique, because that's one of the things. If you mess too much with the gameplay mechanics on the PvP side, you're gonna affect PvE one way or the other. And I don't think they're gonna do as much damage as a lot of people think. I do think they'll do some, because change is always tough. But those are some of the big changes that you'll see with the gameplay mechanics going from D1 to D2.
Yeah, a couple other things, just kind of piggybacking off that. In Destiny 1, there was no difference between how a gun worked in PvE versus PvP. So
and when you're saying PvE versus PvP, explain that.
Okay, so PvE is when you're out and you're shooting the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're shooting the aliens.
Okay.
So that's either
Computer generated.
So you're shooting the AIs, whether you're on it, you're by yourself or you're on a team with other players. You're not shooting other players.
Right.
So that's your raids, your strikes or your story missions. And then your PvP is your player versus player.
Right.
Basically I guess in another game, what you would call a death match or something like that.
Team
where
Slayer, capture the flag,
something
oddball,
like that. So
King of the Hill.
I guess PvE, PvP is really, more Destiny terms. But in Destiny 1, how it worked is when they changed how a gun worked. If they noticed, man, this sniper or a fusion rifle is getting so many kills, we got to nerf it. Well, they did it for PvP, but that affected how the gun worked in PvE. And so one change they're making for Destiny 2, they're keeping them separate.
That's good.
So that, as a PvE player, is something that I like. And then another change is they're kind of changing how the weapons work. In Destiny 1, you had a primary,
That's a good point.
which was, a pistol or an auto rifle. Then you had your secondary, which were shotguns and snipers.
Rockets.
And then your heavy.
Yeah, and then you had heavy.
Heavy. And so they're kind of changing it to where now they're putting your shotgun and your snipers into that heavy slot. They're really increasing the time to kill in Destiny 1 or in Destiny 2, which is great because me as a PvE guy, I really tried to stay away from the competitive, the PvP, because I just got wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be so often you would turn a corner and you'd get hit with a sniper or a shotgun or something, and it was instant kill. And so they've kind of taken that and said, look, we don't want everyone going into what their PvP is called the Crucible. We don't want them going into the Crucible, and a guy like me, you get one kill and you have 10 deaths because as soon as you turn a corner, you're getting killed. So now they're changing the way they're distributing that sniper, that shotgun ammo, and now most of your guns are going to be whether it's a pistol or an auto rifle or something. So they've really increased the time to kill, I guess, to kind of enjoy, at least for me, I see it as a way to enjoy that PvP experience.
It's much more primary focused.
Yeah.
As opposed to in Destiny, you'd have a lot of snipers, a lot of shotguns, as you mentioned. In Destiny 2, you're going to see a lot of hand cannons, a lot of pulse rifles, a lot of scout rifles, a lot more primary weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really neat is, as you mentioned, they're taking one primary that you had in Destiny, and they're giving you two primaries in Destiny 2. So that alone points to the direction they're trying to go in making the game much more primary focused, which I think everybody's on board with.
Makes much more faster, I guess, or
Not necessarily that it makes it more fast. It's just more balanced.
Okay.
You feel justified when you die.
Okay.
That's one of the when you die, you want to feel like, okay, I don't even have to rage because
that
I know why
guy?
I
Yeah,
died.
yeah.
By making the game more primary focused, I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Because with your primary, or excuse me, with your special and your heavy weapons, those are all one-shot kills. You get ripped in the face across map with a sniper, and you're kind of like, what the hell's going on? On the flip side, you get into a primary battle with another guy with his pistol. Excuse me, you've got a pistol, he's got the Mida. The gunfights at long range, he wins. You understand why? It makes sense, right? Like, so Bungie's just bringing a little bit more clarity into the gun battles and the gunfights that we have in D2.
Mm-hmm. Do you think making it more balanced, I don't know if this is a dumb question or not, but I'm just wondering, do you think, making it more of an esports, do you think it's kind of dumbing down the experience at all? Do you think maybe the gameplay dumbing down? And
there's no way you can't argue that some of what makes Destiny unique and gives it that lore and gives it that kind of like mystique. That is gone. I think with God roll weapons, that's one of them. One of the reasons you grind out these strikes and you grind out these nightfalls and these story missions is for good gun and good guns and good gear.
Good loot.
Ideally, good loot. Ideally, a God roll loot where you've got just a totally badass weapon. You can't get that anymore in D2. So I think a lot of the incentive for grinding might go away. But if Destiny 2 finds a way to replace that grind, if you will, then it'll be all good. But for now, I think there's going to be a lot of what made Destiny really special is going to go out the window.
And dumbing it down is a really good way to put it, because I think what a lot of people found, me especially, you find what you really enjoy playing with in Destiny 1. And as a PvE mostly guy, playing a campaign mission or a strike or whatever, I wasn't looking for, okay, I need the perfect time to kill, where if I see another guy come around the corner, I got to kill him as fast as possible. And so I'm probably in this weird category where I loved using a pistol that had explosive rounds, and if you killed a guy with a headshot, he exploded. So it's like you're carrying a freaking, like a cannon in your hand where they explode. And you had to find the right gun that could do that to where you get those specific perks on that gun. And unless that is the role that you're given in Destiny 2, you're not going to be able to go, okay, well, I kind of like the way this pistol works. I'd love this pistol if it had different roles on it or different perks. You can't do that. And then the way they've changed things too is where once you get through a certain amount of time, you let it charge and you get your super ability. Where some of the new ones they've introduced, you kind of become Captain America. You get a shield you run around with, you can smash somebody, you can throw it, and that is what's called your super ability. They've really dumbed down how that works. It was kind of what you were saying about how guns used to work. You had your perk trees, right? And you could pick the different things. Well, you could go in and affect your super, where in the first one you could create a bubble shield that your teammates could come in. You could say, well, I want it to regenerate faster, or I want it to last longer. I want the perks that are given to last longer. In this one, you don't get those options. You choose from what we got to play in the beta. You get 2 skill trees, and it says you get this one or this one. And you can't go, well, I liked, that it recharged faster, but I wanted it to give me more power on my guns instead of giving me an overshield. You don't get those options anymore. So again, I think all of that goes into how Bungie is kind of pushing this into the corner of we're making everything balanced in the hope that this becomes an esport.
Yeah. All right. Definitely want to hear what you guys think once this comes out, because it definitely sounds like you're excited, but there's definitely some maybe cautious on a few points. So definitely get you guys back, and because we're kind of up on the time.
I'll probably do I've always kind of been fearful of the 24-hour Twitch stream.
Sure.
But I'm actually considering it for the launch of D2.
So how's your Twitch been going? Like, how long have you been streaming every day, or?
I haven't been streaming as much as I'd like to in the past month or so.
Yeah.
But we started streaming, I want to say in April. And then I had to actually reset my account about a month ago, and we're almost at 1,000 followers on Twitch, and 7K on Instagram. So what I've been doing is using that community on Instagram to just tell people that I'm going live on Twitch. And I'll usually see, anywhere 15 to 20 people jump into Twitch right away and hang out and play Destiny.
Okay.
One of the things with Twitch, one of the ways I found success with Twitch is I'd participate in the Trials of Osiris. And so anytime an event or like a weekly global event or activity is going on in a game, people are really interested in that. And so what I would do is I would help people who hadn't gone to the Lighthouse or who had trouble going to the Lighthouse making it there. And that was really popular and got people really engaged because you could enter a raffle to play with us and play on our team and try to go flawless. And so that went really well. I think what I'm most excited about is that I got on the Twitch train really late. Obviously, I've only been streaming for a couple months, and Destiny's been out for 3 years. But what I'm really excited about is being right there on day one for D2, because Destiny was able to create a lot of really, really, really special content creators out there. Now there's some really big name guys who use Destiny as their platform, and I think D2 is going to be even bigger. And to be there from the start gives me as a streamer and a content creator a huge advantage over guys like me who joined 3 years late, right? So I'm excited to be there from day one and probably be doing a 24-hour stream.
All right, very cool. What day? I guess 2 weeks from when? What's the exact date?
September 6th.
September 6th.
2 weeks from now, we will be just
Knack
embedded.
2.
Avatar mode.
Just playing Knack 2.
D2. Yeah.
Till our eyes blow out.
Yeah.
So
Not Knack 2.
Knack 2.
Destiny 2.
Shrek or Knack 2?
Oh, you know the answer to that. That's Shrek. That's easy.
I'm sorry I didn't get any Twitter questions today. I knew we were going to kind of run late, and we've kind of run late a little bit, unless that is a question. No, it's not. But yeah, I do appreciate your Shrek questions. It's always fun to answer those on the podcast. So.
Well, I'm a little upset about the one time, I think it was Austin who refused to answer my question because
Yeah.
I forgot how to spell Shrek.
Mm-hmm. It's
So,
hard. It's tough.
yeah.
Is there a C in there or not?
And sometimes there's a
Spell
yeah.
like it sounds. No, you
There's
know.
I don't know where all the H's or the C's go.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
It's
sometimes.
tough, man. It's tough. Life is tough.
Yeah.
Well, thanks guys for coming on. We'll get you on once Destiny 2 is out and you've been playing it. Chris, where can we find you in the world?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Kris is Gross.
Yeah, Chris is Gross.
Yeah, I know I had to change the Twitter handle. I guess that's a longer story for a different time. But
Oh,
at Kris
okay.
is Gross,
Okay.
Chris with a K.
K. Chris with a K.
Yeah.
The cool new millennial way to spell Chris now.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I got to pick.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I know, damn millennials having to pick everything.
Right.
Yeah. Hunter, where can we find you in the world?
I'm everywhere on the internets at Old Man Mikowski.
Okay.
OLMAN, Old Man Mikowski.
Okay.
MAKOWSKI.
Awesome.
Hopefully people remember about
And
it.
you have a tattoo or a tattoo
Yeah.
on your arm.
Yeah, I got my first tattoo, the Hunter tat, right there on
Hunter.
the forearm, which is cool. You know, it's my name, so
Yeah.
I live it.
And Chris is gonna get a matching tattoo now, right?
Well, not matching, an adversarial actually.
Oh.
He would get
Yeah.
the Titan logo.
We run different classes.
yeah.
So I would be betraying my own class if I got
Sure.
a matching tattoo.
Yeah. I see.
So-
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, guys, for coming on. It's been fun. Please like and comment and subscribe to the podcast. I know that doesn't work. Actually, it does now because we're putting this on YouTube eventually. I'm going to try to put all this stuff on YouTube.
Smash that
Yeah.
subscribe.
God, we
Smash
could-
that sub.
We could do a whole podcast about YouTube.
We
God,
could.
Jeez.
We could. But I talked to some people and they
Oh,
recommended
jeez.
I just put this everywhere.
That's smart. That's smart.
And just it's tough with the analytics on podcasts. You don't really know because YouTube's good with analytics, knowing how long people listen or watch and knowing how many people.
What about Anchor? You tried Anchor?
for podcasts?
Yeah.
No. Is that good for analytics?
I think Anchor's like an audio platform, so
Okay.
I'd have to do more research. I just
All
kind
right.
of threw it out there, spitballing
just,
ideas.
Just smash the like sub button.
Smash
yeah,
that
just
button.
wherever we are. Just,
Find popular, famous people and send this to them and
yeah,
make them
tag
listen to
on
it.
everything.
Tag them, make them listen, make
Yeah,
them.
so like Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy,
Let them know we're out there.
Cameron Diaz,
Yeah.
all of them, John Lithgow. Let them know, especially John
Bruce
Lithgow.
Lee, Bruce
Let's
Lee.
get John Lithgow on the show, by the way.
Did
Let's
you
get
give
him
out
on.
your Twitter, Trey?
Huh? My Twitter is at CrayTreyVids. You can also go on TreyTMitchell.com and find all my junk, and go to YouTube at CrayTrey and subscribe and do all that stuff. Thanks again for coming on, guys.
Thanks
It's
for having
been-
me.
It's
Appreciate
been fun.
it, dude.
Yeah.
Always fun.
All right. Well, that's all for the podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's called a road. It's called a rainbow road. It is a road that you go. It's a road. It's called a rainbow road. And you will know when you get there. It's called a road. It's called a rainbow road. It is a road that you go. It's a road that you go when you die. It's a road called Rainbow Road. It's a road we're all gonna go. It's a road called Rainbow Road. It's got Princess Peach, Mario, and Toad. It's a road called Rainbow Road. It's a road we're all gonna go. It's Rainbow Road. It's where you go when you die. It's Rainbow Road. I'm with you again, Uncle. It's Rainbow Road. It's where you go when you die. It's Rainbow Road. I miss you again, Uncle. Oh, Rainbow Road.
Where did you learn the song?
It's called a road, it's called a Rainbow Road. It is a road that you go. It's called a road, it's called a Rainbow Road.
What's that song from?
And you will.
Rainbow Road. I mean.